On October 21, 1978, a 20-year-old pilot named Frederick Valentich took off from Moorabbin Airport in Victoria, Australia, on what was supposed to be a routine flight. His destination was King Island, a small landmass situated in the Bass Strait. He never made it, neither did his aircraft, and to this day, not a single trace of Frederick or his plane has ever been found. What makes this disappearance so chilling is not just the fact that a young pilot vanished into thin air, it's what he said before he vanished. Because according to the final recorded transmission between Frederick and Melbourne Air Traffic Control, he was being followed by something in the sky, something that wasn't a plane, something he couldn't identify. And in his final words, before radio contact was lost, Frederick described a large, shiny, hovering object, and then the transmission ended in a metallic scraping noise. The case of Frederick Valentich remains one of the most mysterious and unsettling aviation disappearances of the modern era, and for those who believe, it might just be one of the clearest examples of a real-life UFO encounter. Frederick wasn't a seasoned aviator, but he wasn't a novice either. He held a Class 4 instrument rating, allowing him to fly at night under visual flight rules. Though his record showed a few failed subjects in flight school and some disciplinary issues, he had logged over 150 hours of flight time. He took flying seriously. He wanted to be in the Air Force, and most of all, he wanted to be in the sky. On that Saturday evening, the sky was clear, the weather calm. Valentich filed a flight plan to fly from Moorabbin to King Island, a 125-mile journey. He claimed he was going to pick up some friends, but that detail later became questionable. No one was waiting for him, and no one was expecting him. Some would later wonder, was Frederick actually looking for something else that night? At 7:06 p.m., about 30 minutes into the flight, Frederick radioed Melbourne Flight Service with a strange report. He said there was another aircraft flying near him very close, but according to radar, there was no other aircraft in the area. He described the object as being long, metallic, and with green lights. It was hovering above him and moving at a speed and agility he couldn't explain. He said, "It's not an aircraft." The transmission continued for several more minutes, with Frederick giving updates as the object continued to shadow him, sometimes circling him, sometimes vanishing, then reappearing, and then a strange sound. A metallic scraping noise and silence. The transmission went dead. That was the last time anyone heard from Frederick Valentich. Immediately, search and rescue efforts began. Both Australian naval and air units scoured the Bass Strait. For days, they searched the waters and the coastlines. No wreckage was found, no oil slick, no sign of Frederick. It was as if the plane had vanished completely. Some theorized that Valentich had become disoriented, that he had been flying upside down, and what he saw was a reflection of his own aircraft. Others claimed he staged his own disappearance, that he had flown out to sea and crashed on purpose, or landed somewhere to start a new life. But there was no motive, no evidence, and no destination. He had no passport, no money, and no known issues that would have prompted such a drastic act. But others believed something else entirely. Australia had long been a hotspot for UFO sightings, especially around the Bass Strait. Fishermen and residents had reported strange lights in the sky for decades. Mysterious disappearances of ships and planes in that region weren't uncommon. In fact, the area had gained a reputation like a southern version of the Bermuda Triangle. Just weeks before Valentich's flight, several UFO sightings were reported along the southeastern coast of Australia, glowing green orbs, fast, moving lights, and strange formations. Some believed Valentich had gone out that night expecting to see something, that he had been searching for proof. Frederick had been a known UFO enthusiast. He had reportedly read books on the subject and even discussed it with friends and family. His father, Guido Valentich, later told reporters that Frederick had spoken many times about extraterrestrials and believed in their existence. But did he believe too much? Skeptics say Frederick might have misidentified a natural phenomenon like the planet Venus, or a meteor, or a trick of the light. Perhaps he panicked, got disoriented, and crashed into the sea. But there are problems with that theory. First, Frederick was calm during most of the radio transmission. He didn't sound frightened, just confused. His voice remained steady. His words were measured. Only toward the end did he begin to sound disturbed. Second, the strange metallic scraping sound heard at the end of the transmission has never been explained. Audio analysts have studied the recording for years. It doesn't resemble static or engine noise. It sounds unnatural. In the years following his disappearance, reports continued to surface. Some claim to have seen a plane flying low over the sea that night, chased by a glowing object. Others say they witnessed a bright green light shoot upward from the ocean. In 2014, nearly 40 years after Valentich vanished, a photo emerged taken the same night he disappeared showing a green light in the sky. The photographer had never connected it to Valentich until decades later. Was this the proof that had been missing? Perhaps the most chilling theory came from a group of independent researchers who mapped out every reported UFO sighting in Australia on the week Valentich disappeared. The concentration around Bass Strait was undeniable. Several witnesses, unconnected and unknown to each other, described eerily similar lights in the sky at the exact same time as Frederick's flight. And then there's the question of radar. According to some reports, air traffic control radar did pick up an unidentified object moving erratically near Valentich's plane. Official statements were vague, and no full disclosure was ever made public. Whether that's due to lack of data or deliberate secrecy, no one knows. Over the years, Frederick's disappearance has become part of UFO lore. It's been featured in documentaries, podcasts, and conspiracy forums. For believers, it's the closest thing to real-time evidence of a human encountering something not of this earth and being taken. But for his family, the mystery was never about aliens or government cover-ups. It was about loss, a son who never came home, a voice that vanished into silence. Sarah, Frederick's mother, never gave up hope. She believed her son had been taken not by force, but by purpose. She believed he had found something out there, and maybe one day he would return. But he never did. The Australian government eventually closed the case with no official cause of disappearance. No wreckage, no body, no answers, just a recording, and a fading memory of a young man who looked up at the sky and disappeared. Today, the Bass Strait remains a place of legend. Pilots who fly over the area speak of odd turbulence, strange readings on instruments, and eerie feelings. Some avoid it altogether, and every so often, someone reports seeing lights. Moving against the wind, vanishing into the clouds, hovering over the waves, and they remember Frederick Valentich, the pilot who flew into the night looking for something and perhaps found it. If he did, it was the last thing he ever saw.